They said there was no place for a high school graduate like me, and kicked me out of the restaurant. The moment the new female employee, who had been standing frozen in front of the shop, smiled with tears welling up in her eyes, my anger reached its peak. The elite employees who always looked down on us for our education levels had volunteered to organize this gathering. But it turned out to be a trap set by one of them. A scheme to humiliate us, to make us a laughingstock. "Ashley, stay here." Ha! Fueled by my rage, I stormed into the venue, where the party was being held. Soon after, someone arrived, revealing my true identity. And the elite employees were struck by a shock so severe it sobered them instantly. My name is Daniel Walker, 32 years old. I work in sales at a small IT startup company. The company I work for was founded just 7 years ago, still a young company. In the early days, there was hardly any business, and even the president and programmers had to go out and drum up our business. And it was a tough time for the company. But everything changed 4 years ago. It all started when Mr. Walker was interviewed on TV by chance. I grew up poor as a child. I created this budget support app hoping that kids in the same situation might at least be able to eat a full meal once a week. The sight of Mr. Walker sharing his story struck a chord with viewers. But what garnered the most attention was not just his background, but also how young and good-looking he was. The news spread quickly on social media, and soon other TV stations and magazines were requesting interviews. As a result, our company's recognition skyrocketed. Today, we're a fast-growing business, often listed as one of the top up-and-coming companies, poised to become a major player. So, you graduated from K University, huh? That's a prestigious school. I heard a lot of alumni work here. I wanted to challenge myself, too. Hearing the enthusiasm of this promising new employee, I smiled and nodded, saying, "Do your best." Even though the company is growing fast, it's still small compared to the big corporations, and the pay and bonuses are lower. Despite that, we've attracted many fresh graduates who want to work here. Especially in the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen a lot of highly educated people like him, who could easily get hired by the big firms. Joining us. We're lucky, aren't we? It's great for the company to have more talented people. The one looking so smug as she said this was a female employee who also graduated from a prestigious national university. Her name is Emily, and she's technically my junior, as I joined the company shortly after it was founded. Still, she's been speaking to me informally for a long time. Apparently, it's because I only have a high school diploma. You're right that we're lucky to have so many talented young people lately, but... Exactly. Even our president graduated from one of the top universities. Education equals job skills, plain and simple. I don't think that's true. What? Emily shot me a look of pure disdain at my response. It's not just because I'm a high school graduate, but I firmly believe that job skills aren't solely determined by education. Some people discover hidden talents or develop their skills after starting their career. I'm sure Mr. Walker shares this view, which is why the company hires people regardless of their education. So, I've explained to Emily countless times that the idea of only highly educated employees being competent needs to change. But once again, she sneered at me dismissively. "You're still saying that? You really need to update your thinking." Ha! Look. With a smirk, Emily pointed at this month's performance board. The top performers are all highly educated members. And compared to them, you and the others from lower-tier universities, your rankings and contracts are pretty underwhelming, huh? Her mocking tone irritated me, and I couldn't help but argue back. It's only the 5th day of the month. Besides, last month's top performer was. Oh, right. It just so happened to be someone who wasn't highly educated. Hopefully, you'll get lucky like that again this month. I didn't say anything. As the company rapidly grew, we started attracting more talent from prestigious universities. While this growth propelled the company further, it also brought with it a disadvantage. That is, more employees like Emily began to distinguish between colleagues based on their academic background. They believed that those with high academic achievements were the true pillars supporting the company, and that those with lower education levels were inherently less capable than them. If I ever get married, it would have to be to someone like Mr. Walker. Young, handsome, talented. And of course an elite with a top-notch education. And compared to him, just look at you, Daniel. Aren't you embarrassed to share the same last name? You're neither young nor handsome. And on top of that, you have such a low level of education. If I were you, I'd find it unbearable. I'm used to it by now. Thanks to how often you've compared me to Mr. Walker. Oh, Daniel, you poor thing. You act tough because you're insecure about your lack of education. How sad. Ha ha. If I didn't deliver results, it was because of my low education. If I did, it was despite my low education. No matter what, Emily and her group of highly educated colleagues always made me their target. Especially me, the only high school graduate in the sales department. I've grown used to it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't sting. I'm determined to change the way they think. That resolve drives me to work harder than anyone, constantly running to meet clients, no matter how young or talented my colleagues are. Then, in the spring of the following year. Hello. I'm looking forward to working with everyone. Please take care of me. A young woman bowed deeply, introducing herself nervously. The male employees whispered among themselves, stealing glances at her. I tried not to stare, but I couldn't help but notice her too. She's really pretty, I thought. She still had a bit of youthful innocence, just as I'd heard she was only 22 years old. But her delicate features, tall and slender frame, and strikingly fair skin made the word beautiful suit her perfectly. She had a pure, almost ethereal presence, like the heroine of a coming-of-age drama. Her name was Ashley. She was the newest recruit assigned to the sales department. Nice to meet you, Ashley. I'm Daniel. As the oldest member of the team, I took the lead in greeting her. When I extended my right hand, Ashley hesitantly responded with a handshake. But her hand was trembling noticeably. Are you okay? Are you nervous? Yes. Despite her tall and elegant figure, she hunched over, looking down timidly. Soon, I understood the reason why. Hey, Ashley? What university did you graduate from? Emily cut into our conversation, smiling brightly. Ashley flinched and looked down even more, her shoulders trembling. She mumbled in a tiny voice. I graduated from. What? I couldn't hear you. Don't be shy, say it again, please. I only have a high school diploma. In an instant, Emily's friendly smile vanished. Excuse me? Who on earth hired a high school graduate? Hey, knock it off. I stepped in front of Ashley, shielding her from Emily, who had suddenly turned hostile. Well, if she'd at least graduated from a mid-tier university, I might have helped her out. What a shame. I'm sorry. Ashley, you have nothing to apologize for. Emily, I've told you before, it's not right to judge people by their education. It's not just me. I doubt anyone else here would want to mentor her either. Right, everyone? As Emily glanced around, her usual group of highly educated colleagues, the four who always followed her lead, smirked in agreement. The other employees, the ones from less prestigious universities whom they often mocked, looked away awkwardly, avoiding eye contact. In other words, no one was willing to take responsibility for mentoring Ashley. All right, I'll take on the responsibility of being her mentor. Oh, how perfect! You two are just perfect for each other. Emily said this, laughing heartily with her entourage. I'm sorry they made you feel bad. I'll talk to them later. When I apologized, Ashley shook her head vigorously. No. It's my fault. What? I knew there would be people here from prestigious universities. And yet, I came here as someone with only a high school diploma. Her voice trembled as she hesitantly explained. After high school, due to family circumstances, she had taken a job at a local company. As she began to resign herself to a life of doing work she didn't care for, she happened to see an advertisement for this company. For some reason, she felt an overwhelming attraction to the company and strongly thought, I want to work here. On a whim, she applied for the recruitment test, not expecting much. But she passed, and while that should have been a good thing, I'm going to quit. What? It's only your first day. But I clearly don't belong here. I don't see how I'll ever make it. Having quick judgment is an admirable trait. But this was definitely too hasty, so I hurriedly tried to persuade Ashley otherwise. By saying, even though you're a high school graduate, you passed the recruitment test just like everyone else. And you absolutely have the qualifications to work here. Is your lack of confidence really because you're insecure about being a high school graduate? She didn't say anything. Then Ashley silently nodded. Internally, I thought, this isn't good. No matter how sharp her judgment might be, it would be tough for her to succeed in sales with such low self-confidence. Clients always want a salesperson who is confident in the product they're offering. Ashley, I haven't told you this, but I'm a high school graduate too. What? Even so, there are plenty of clients who specifically request to work with me. They say, Daniel's the most reliable. So I only want to talk to him. That's the result of all the hard work I've put in. For clients who initially distrusted me, because of my lack of a degree, I visited them repeatedly until they did trust me. I studied our products more than anyone else and made sure I could answer even the most detailed questions. I still get comments about my education, even now. And yeah, I've had my share of struggles, so I understand why you might feel insecure. But it's because I know hardship and failure that I can understand people's pain. I can empathize with the problems and concerns our clients have. I think that's my strength. Strength. Ashley repeated the word, and before I knew it, she had lifted her head. Her previously downcast eyes seemed to regain their light, now sparkling with determination. Maybe, just maybe, this girl had the potential to shine. With a sense of hope, I encouraged her further. How about it? Wouldn't it be fun if a high school graduate like us could show up to those elite, highly educated people? Doesn't that sound exciting? Show them up? Yeah, let's make them eat their words together. You and me? Ashley still seemed a bit hesitant, but her eyes sparkled even brighter. Up until now, she had probably given up on a lot of things due to her family situation, or because she believed her high school diploma limited her. She might have even heard someone say, despite being a high school graduate, directly to her before. just like me. Whatever you want to do, I'll be here to support you. Don't give up before you even try, just give it a shot, and if you fail. If I fail. Ashley swallowed nervously, and I gave her a big smile. Then I'll take responsibility and apologize to everyone for you profusely. Ashley looked stunned, her eyes wide in surprise. Apologize, do you think that will be enough? I'll keep apologizing until they forgive us. And if they don't, well, we'll figure that out when the time comes. Though, I'd rather we avoid that. If possible. I'll do my best. Though I meant it as a joke. Ashley straightened up, her face now determined. She's such a serious person. If she learns to loosen up a bit, I'm sure her confidence will naturally follow. Alright then, let's officially get started. Looking forward to working with you, Ashley. Yes. This time, when I offered my hand, she shook it without hesitation. Her hand no longer trembled. I instinctively thought, this girl will definitely change how others see her someday. And before long, my prediction began to take shape. Ashley, you really saved me earlier. We were this close to losing that client to another company. No, I didn't do anything. To realize what the client really wanted at the last minute like that. It shows that you've been studying and that you're great at observing people. I just noticed there was a disconnect in the conversation. I'm sorry for butting in. Not at all. I raised my voice a little, trying to encourage her as she began to look down again. Since we started going on sales calls together, Ashley had impressed me time and time again. It's only been about a month since she joined the company, but her knowledge of IT is already on par with mine. She's sharp, with a keen eye for catching even the slightest changes in tone or facial expression from the client. And while she usually seems timid, when it counts, she has a surprising amount of initiative and courage. For someone with so little confidence, it was almost baffling how much talent she had. Your greatest strength, though, is your talent for hard work. You're a genius when it comes to effort, Ashley. A genius? No way. Not everyone can push themselves to study or to get to know their clients better. The fact that you can is a real talent. As I explained this to Ashley, I glanced sideways. Emily, who was chatting and laughing with her group, had once been a promising employee herself. Full of enthusiasm when she first joined the company. But now, her performance had stagnated. While other highly educated members excelled, she had fallen behind. It was all because she started avoiding hard work, focusing more on belittling others than on improving herself. It's such a waste. If she had kept working hard, maybe she would have caught Mr. Walker's attention by now. You know what Mr. Walker likes. I almost said, someone like Ashley, but stopped myself with a cough. The last thing I needed was for her to think I meant something inappropriate and for her to suddenly decide to quit. For the sake of the company and this department, we couldn't afford to lose her. Anyway, let's keep up the good work, Ashley. Yes. From that point on, I took Ashley with me to all my client meetings and sales calls. I shared the knowledge and tips I'd accumulated over the years, while at the same time learning from her and having her support me in my work. We complemented each other perfectly, as if we had been working together for years. In no time, we began to see incredible results. Wow, Daniel and Ashley. I can't believe you landed that huge company. It was rare for Emily to speak to me, but she approached us right after we secured a major deal. Normally, she acted as if I didn't exist, saying things like, I don't even notice high school graduates. But now, with her unusually friendly smile, I could sense a bad feeling growing, honed from years of experience. Thanks. Let's go, Ashley. Wait, but Emily was just complimenting us. No, that's not it. That was the face she made when she was about to say something sarcastic. I knew Ashley must have recognized it from her first day, too. Just as she had finally moved past it, I hesitated, wondering if I should really bring it up again. It's nice, isn't it, being a high school graduate? Expectations are so low that even when you just get lucky, people praise you. It's not that easy for us. With her face twisted into a wide smirk, Emily laughed. Her words were dripping with sarcasm as she spoke. Ha! As Ashley stood in shock, laughter erupted around us. It was Emily's entourage. At some point, they had surrounded us, smirking just like her. It wasn't luck. Ashley's success was a result of her hard work. She had thoroughly researched the client. She studied until she was practically sleep-deprived. Even during breaks, she would secretly practice her sales pitch alone. I had seen it all, being with her the whole time. I wasn't going to let anyone, not even Ashley, reduce all that effort to mere luck. It would be an insult to everything she had worked for. I spoke more sharply than usual. But Emily wasn't fazed, so she just snickered. Oh, I see. Now I get it. Get what? Why you've been dragging this rookie around everywhere. She's got the looks, doesn't she? Bet she's a hit with those older men at the client meetings. What? Her words were a slap in the face, both to me and to Ashley. I felt a surge of anger and stepped toward Emily without thinking. Take it back. You can say what you want about me, but apologize to Ashley. Aw, did I hit a nerve? No, stop belittling her. The more I raised my voice, the more Emily enjoyed it, and the laughter around us grew louder. Ashley began to tremble, lowering her head and shrinking in on herself, just like she had before she found her confidence. She had finally gained confidence and learned to face forward proudly. It was unbearable, so I glared at Emily. Oh, how scary. But that's all you've got, isn't it? Acting tough because you have nothing else, she sneered. Ashley already has plenty. She has no reason to be looked down on. Heh, the low-educated protecting the low-educated. You two really are a perfect match. With that, Emily turned and walked away, her entourage following her. Even after we were left alone, Ashley continued to tremble, her head still lowered. I'm sorry, Daniel. What? Because of me. In a small, trembling voice, Ashley apologized to me over and over. Because you're with me, even you, Daniel, are being ridiculed. She said it with frustration and regret in her voice. No, I'm the one who should apologize. As the most senior person in this department, it was my responsibility to create a safe environment for you and the others to work in. I'm sorry I couldn't do that and ended up letting you get hurt. So you have nothing to feel bad about, Ashley. There's no reason to be ashamed or to feel intimidated by people like that. You should hold your head high because your skills are real. I wasn't sure if my words had any weight, coming from someone like me. But as I added that, Ashley shook her head vigorously. That's not true. I really admire you, Daniel. You admire me? Nothing. Suddenly, Ashley lifted her head and ran off. Her cheeks were slightly flushed for some reason. After that, things became a little awkward between us. Though we continued going out on sales calls together, as soon as we returned to the office, she'd excuse herself with, I have some unfinished work to do, and quickly leave. I knew she didn't have any urgent tasks, but still. Ashley, you're not being overworked by someone, are you? If so, I can talk to them. No. It's fine. I've just been really busy lately. Really? Well, if you say so. But if it gets too much, just let me know. I have a meeting now. Excuse me. With that, she hurried off as if escaping. It's true that she's been getting more used to the work lately, and I'd even started letting her handle clients on her own as a test. So she really was busier. Maybe her distancing herself from me was a sign that she was ready to stand on her own, like a parent watching their child prepare to leave the nest. I felt a bit sentimental. But because I was so relaxed about it, I ended up leaving her alone. And because of that, I failed to notice her getting hurt again. That day, the company was holding a team building event, with each department booking a different venue for a group dinner. The sales department's venue was a dining bar near the office. Emily had chosen the place. I let you handle this because you insisted. Everything's set, right? The food and drinks are top-notch. There's no way I'd choose a bad spot. That's not what I meant. I hinted, trying to ask if she was planning something. Whether she caught on or not, she remained completely unfazed. Whatever she was hiding, she wasn't giving away any clues. Sorry. I'll be about an hour late. Can you head over without me? Just before the end of the workday, I received a last-minute request from a client. When I put my hands together in apology, Ashley looked a little uneasy. Okay, but you'll definitely join later, right? Of course. I'll catch up with you at the venue, so just wait for me there. All right. Looking back, that was my mistake. When I finally wrapped up the work and arrived at the dining bar where the event was being held, Ashley was standing outside all alone. Ashley? When I called out to her, she quickly lifted her head, startled. The sight shocked me. Her eyes were brimming with tears, on the verge of spilling over. What happened? Did something go wrong? I knew she mostly talked to me and didn't interact much with the other colleagues. Still, recently, her hard work had moved some of them, and little by little, more people had started reaching out to her. Many had even apologized, saying things like, "I'm sorry for ignoring you because I was worried about how Emily might react." That's why I thought this company gathering would be a great opportunity for her to bond more with everyone. So, I decided to let her go ahead and join them first. Was it too uncomfortable for you? Is that why you came outside? She silently shook her head in response. Then she revealed something unbelievable. Everyone left, except for Emily and her group. What? They left? I tried calling you, Daniel, she said, prompting me to check my phone in a panic. That's when I realized, unfortunately, I had left my phone back at the office. Sorry, I left my phone behind, but why did everyone leave? What happened? Well, with her head lowered, Ashley began to explain what had really happened in a quiet, sad voice. The truth Ashley shared was, Emily and her group kicked everyone else out of the restaurant. They said anyone from a lower-tier university didn't deserve to drink in such a fancy place, and from the start, they only reserved 5 seats. What? In other words, Emily had only booked seats for herself and her 4 entourage members. The other 10 of us, including Ashley and me, weren't considered at all from the beginning. That's why she volunteered to be in charge of organizing the event. The moment I realized this, a wave of anger surged through me. And that's when it happened. Ashley, with tears in her eyes, gave me a weak smile. They told me, of course, There wasn't any room for a high school graduate woman like me, so I thought at least I'd wait and say goodbye to you. Daniel. That's why I stayed here. Ashley, wait here. Ha! I'll take you home later. Leaving those words behind, I stormed into the dining bar. There was no way I was going to let the people who made her look like that continue to enjoy their drinks. I remembered hearing somewhere that when people get truly angry, they actually become more calm. I was experiencing that firsthand. I also remembered him saying he'd join later. By the time he confronted Emily and her group, they wouldn't just be caught off guard, they'd be in for a real shock. Thinking of a certain someone, I made my way deeper into the restaurant. When I flung open the door to the private room, they were already quite drunk. They didn't even notice me standing at the entrance for a while. Ha, waiter? It's me. This is the venue for the sales department's gathering, isn't it? So, I came. What? Daniel? What are you doing here? Even though she was completely drunk, Emily was still the same as always. She flashed a mocking smile in my direction, waving her hand dismissively as if to shoo me away. Sorry, but there's no room for high school graduates. We didn't reserve any seats for you. Yeah, I heard that. But wasn't this supposed to be a gathering for the whole sales department? As the organizer, isn't it your responsibility to make sure everyone has a seat? Ha! Oh sure, I'll reserve seats just for the people who actually contribute to the company. The moment Emily scoffed and said those words, the private room erupted in laughter. I glanced around and saw that her entire entourage was looking at me with flushed, grinning faces. The nerve of some people. They barely do any work, but they still want to join the party? Well, I made sure to kick those kinds of freeloaders out with my authority as the organizer. Got a problem with that? People who barely work? There's no such person in our department. Everyone works hard and contributes to the company. Who exactly are you talking about? You. You're the one. You, with your low education, dragging down the company's reputation just by being here. You're a deadweight who only pretends to work. Emily pointed directly at me, hurling insults. Her entourage chimed in, shouting, "That's right, and good one," as they laughed loudly. And then, "Hey, get rid of him. He's ruining our good drinks," Emily ordered, prompting one of her entourage to stand up. With a smirk, he put his arm around my shoulder, ready to escort me out. But then, what do you think you're doing? A young male voice rang out, freezing the lackey in his tracks. Everyone in the room, except for me, turned toward the entrance, staring in disbelief. Why is Mr. Walker here?" Emily muttered in shock, and the color drained from her flushed face. Emily's entourage seemed to sober up instantly. They began to panic, fumbling and hastily tidying up the mess on the table, clearly confused. The young, striking man who had suddenly appeared, Mr. Walker, our company president, cast a questioning gaze over the scene. Then, he looked directly at Emily and, with a curious expression, asked her, "I heard the sales department was having a gathering here. I thought I'd drop by, but there seemed to be far fewer people than I expected. Where is everyone else?" Well, everyone had scheduling conflicts and couldn't make it. 10 people? That's a lot. Did something happen at the office? No. For Emily, Mr. Walker was the person she always gushed about, saying, "I want to marry him." He was her idol. Now, being questioned directly by him, she couldn't form a proper response, stumbling over her words and staring at the floor. With a sigh, Mr. Walker looked at her and said, "I know everything." "What?" I spoke with Ashley outside. "She told me you all kicked her out. And I overheard your conversation just now. Starting from when you said you kicked them out using your authority as the organizer. How could you just say that to my brother?" At that moment, Mr. Walker glared at Emily, his voice cold and biting. Emily and her entourage froze in place, as if time itself had stopped. "Your brother?" "That's right. Daniel here is my brother, Daniel Walker," he confirmed. "Daniel." Ashley, who had been standing just behind Mr. Walker, peeked into the room with a hesitant expression. It seemed she had already been filled in on what had happened. "You shouldn't leave a lady standing out in the cold, Daniel. I didn't want to bring her into this mess. I knew nothing these people said would be worth hearing." "True. It took all I had not to lose my temper. You've always had a short fuse. I'm impressed you kept it together." "Ah." As my brother and I exchanged casual remarks in a relaxed tone, Emily timidly spoke up. Her face had gone completely pale. It seemed she was finally starting to grasp the situation. "But, I mean, you don't even." From her incoherent mumbling, I gathered she was trying to say, "You don't even look alike." "Are you really brothers?" I explained to her. "I take after our father, while my brother takes after our mother. We look just like them, almost like clones. Probably an inconvenience for you to have to look like him," he joked. "Considering our dad was such a deadbeat, yeah," I replied with a chuckle. "Yeah, we've both been through a lot. Especially you, Daniel." Harvey spoke of memories that only the two of us shared, his eyes distant. We laugh about it now, but back then, we had forgotten how to smile for a long time. Both Harvey and I. Our parents got divorced when I was 7. I went with my father, while my 2-year-old brother, Harvey, was taken by our mother, each of us moving to different cities. My father was irresponsible, rarely working and certainly not caring for me. Eventually, he found a girlfriend and stopped coming home altogether. I was always hungry. Those were the words I repeated most as a child. Dressed in ragged clothes, I was looked down upon by the neighbors, who saw me as a troublemaker kid. I was mocked at school, always alone, and I blamed Harvey for it. If only I had been taken by our mother too. It wasn't fair that Harvey got all the love and lived a happy life while I suffered. I thought it was all unfair. But that perspective was flipped in the summer of my 3rd year of middle school. "Wait. Harvey, is that you?" Even though we hadn't seen each other since he was a baby, I recognized him instantly. He had the same beautiful, refined features as our mother, looking like he'd stepped right out of my memories. But his clothes, they were just as tattered and dirty as mine had been. I came to ask Dad for help. That's how Harvey explained why he had suddenly shown up at my door. He told me that our mother had been sick for years and hadn't been able to work properly. Because of that, they were struggling financially, barely able to afford food. I had no idea. I thought you were happy, and that I was the only one having a hard time. I thought the same. Mom always said, "I'm sure your brother is happy, and I'm sorry." My 10-year-old brother spoke without a smile, in a calm and matter-of-fact tone. The moment I saw him like that, it felt like lightning had struck me, and I made a decision. I have to help them. Leave it to me, Harvey. I'll fix this, no matter what. I left my father and moved into the small apartment where my mother and Harvey lived. While studying for my high school entrance exams, I taught Harvey the household skills I had learned myself. I got a scholarship to attend high school but spent most of those 3 years working part-time jobs. And after graduating, I started working at a local factory. It was all to send Harvey to college. You're so smart, though. It seems like such a waste. Every time I came home exhausted from my night shifts, Harvey would look at me with guilt in his eyes. But from my perspective, Harvey was the smarter one. That's why I thought it was better to invest in his education, so he could get a good job. Besides, I told you, didn't I? I'm doing this to make sure you can smile again. That's what I meant. Daniel. As long as you're still wearing that sad expression, it means I haven't kept my promise yet. And that would be uncool for me as a big brother, right? To this day, I still think you were the coolest back then. Stop it. Please forget about that already. As I buried my face in my hands, embarrassed, Harvey couldn't help but laugh. It had been a long struggle, but I had finally managed to bring my brother's smile back. By the way, our mother eventually recovered from her illness, and now the three of us live happily together. That's why I owe everything I have today to my brother. If it weren't for him, I never would have gone to college. And I wouldn't have thought about starting my own business. And I probably wouldn't have met any of you, either. When Harvey said this and glanced over at Emily and her group, they all flinched, their shoulders trembling in unison. When I started the company, the first person I invited was my brother, standing here. That's because he's the person I trust the most. I made the hiring process open to people without degrees because of what I saw in my brother. I realized there are plenty of capable people out there who didn't go to college for one reason or another. Although I've since learned the opposite is also true. Ah! She turned pale, stammering as she realized the meaning behind his words. Then, why isn't he in a higher position? Couldn't you make him a vice president or something with just one word? I turned it down, I replied. I wanted to stay in the role of a regular employee. What? Emily looked completely bewildered. But I had spent years working among adults and had seen the worst of them. The higher people climbed, the more they seemed to forget their past struggles and treated those beneath them with arrogance. I promised myself I wouldn't become like that. So, whenever Harvey offered me a position, I turned it down, believing I wasn't ready to take on that responsibility without being corrupted by the power. Besides, there's still so much I want to learn from being on the front lines. That's why I'm turning down the offer to become the head of the sales department, too. Oh, come on. I thought you'd finally accept. If that's the case, I'll take the position. Emily suddenly jumped into the conversation, raising her hand with enthusiasm. You, as head of the sales department? Yes, Mr. Walker. With all due respect, Daniel is only your brother. He hasn't delivered remarkable results. And it's hard to say he's contributed significantly to the company. In contrast, I'm far more suited for the role. Sure, I've had a bit of a slump lately, but my overall ability is still far superior. Harvey listened to her self-promotion in silence until she finished. Harvey let out a deep, long sigh and then muttered in an exasperated tone, "You don't understand anything." What? You remember the TV interview that brought attention to the company? The one that made us stand out? Of course. It's what made me want to work for you, Mr. Walker. It was my brother here who encouraged me to do that interview. What? Harvey wasn't just speaking to Emily but also addressing her entourage. He explained that in every important moment for the company, he had always sought my advice. My insight had never been wrong, always providing sharp advice that reflected the reality of the workplace. Each time, it helped the company overcome various crises. And I believe that in business, the most important thing is trust. You build that trust by carefully completing each task, earning the confidence of clients, and connecting that trust to future work. In that regard, no one surpasses my brother. He's so thorough that some people might think he's too slow. Sure, his contract numbers aren't growing quickly. And he's never at the top in terms of performance. If you look only at the numbers, his contribution might seem low, but I deeply respect Daniel. Unable to hold back any longer, Ashley spoke up from behind Harvey. When I work with him, I completely understand what Mr. Walker means. Even the most difficult clients, after speaking with Daniel, always look relieved. That's what it means to earn trust. Daniel contributes to the company by gaining the trust of our clients. So, to say he's unfit for a leadership position, that's just not true. Despite her trembling legs, Ashley stood up for me with all her strength. Harvey patted her on the shoulder, offering her a gentle smile. "Thank you for saying what I wanted to. What she said is exactly right. I hate the idea of measuring someone's worth solely by numbers. There are other perspectives to consider. For instance, quietly covering for a colleague's mistake and saving a deal that was about to fall through. I value that kind of kindness and quick thinking as well." Hearing that, suddenly, Emily's expression changed. As if Harvey's words had struck a nerve, and she realized exactly what he was referring to. "Wait, you mean the client you angered, the one who refused to talk to you anymore?" It was my brother who went to them personally and convinced them to continue the deal. She wasn't the only one. I'm sure many of you remember jobs that suddenly started going smoothly or problems that resolved themselves without explanation. As Harvey looked around the room, addressing each person, Emily's entourage began to pale one by one. Eventually, one of them, with a look of resignation, muttered, "Yes. I'm sorry. Even though Daniel helped me, I never acknowledged it until now." "Hey. Me too. I'm sorry." "What?" Ignoring Emily's protests, her entourage continued apologizing to me, each bowing their heads in turn. "It's not just me you owe an apology to, you know that, right?" "Yes." Next, the four of them turned to Ashley, bowing their heads and apologizing. Seeing this, Emily's face flushed red as she trembled uncontrollably, and finally, unable to contain her anger, she pushed past us and stormed out of the private room. I can't stand this. You traitors, just wait until we're back at the office." No one tried to stop her, which only seemed to fuel her anger. With heavy footsteps, she stormed out of the restaurant, her entire body expressing her fury. Then, right after that, the colleagues who had been kicked out earlier returned to the restaurant. They explained, "We were worried about Ashley after all. It looks like this is going to be a great team from now on," Harvey said with a satisfied smile. I nodded deeply. "Yeah. I hope we can all work together to help the company grow." "Well then, we should get to know each other better." Seeing how crowded the space was, Harvey suggested another venue where we could all go to celebrate together. Then, Harvey generously offered to cover the costs himself and suggested restarting the gathering from scratch. "Harvey, aren't you coming? If I'm there, everyone will feel awkward, right? It's the sales department's gathering, after all. You all should just go and enjoy yourselves." Watching his retreating figure, I felt a wave of bittersweet emotion. Harvey had always been smart and dependable, but to me, he was still the little brother I needed to protect. Now, though, he was the one looking out for me. Seeing him so mature, capable of such thoughtful gestures, I was proud yet a little sad at the same time. I guess it's time for me to let go of my brother a bit. Daniel. Everyone's already headed to the new venue. Let's go. Ashley waved to me, and I waved back, saying, I'll be right there. The only thing that still worried me was Harvey's tendency to focus solely on work. I hoped he'd start thinking about his own happiness soon and find someone to stand by his side. Someone kind and sincere, like Ashley. Wait, what? For a moment, I felt a slight pang in my chest. I brushed it off as nothing and hurried over to join Ashley. We moved to a new venue, and this time, the gathering began with everyone smiling and enjoying the relaxed, friendly atmosphere. The night went by happily and without a hitch. The next day, however, things took an unexpected turn. When Emily approached me, her attitude was completely different from the day before. Daniel. I've reflected on everything, and from now on, I'm going to take my work seriously. I was speechless at her sudden transformation. Suspecting that losing her loyal entourage had made her panic, then, before I could fully process it, she dropped a bombshell. And I'll be sure to show respect to you as well. After all, you'll be my future brother-in-law. What? I realized I still love Mr. Walker. After talking to him up close last night, I reaffirmed my feelings. Now, I'm going to make sure he sees me as a capable woman and start actively pursuing him. So, make sure you keep Mr. Walker updated on all my achievements. Oh, and feel free to recommend me for the head of sales too. That'll add to my status as the future president's wife. I was speechless. Regardless of her intentions, the desire to turn over a new leaf is admirable. Working hard with a serious mindset is definitely a good thing. As a senior employee, I should encourage my juniors' motivation. Although, it would have been nice to hear this a bit sooner. Sorry, but it's too late, Emily. Ha! With a confused look on her face, I reluctantly delivered the truth. I've already told Mr. Walker everything about your behavior. Everything. Yes, everything. And based on that, Mr. Walker has decided that no matter how much you change, he will never consider dating you. In short, I'll never be your brother-in-law, and you'll never be the president's wife. No way. Also, Mr. Walker isn't into flashy women like you. Especially those who focus only on appearances and lack substance. Even if they have impressive academic credentials. That last remark had a bit of a spiteful tone to it. But considering everything that had happened, I figured this much payback was justified. Anyway, you'll be getting a transfer order soon. A transfer. You remember the company we acquired recently? They're short-staffed, and Mr. Walker's been trying to decide who to send over. Looks like he found a highly motivated candidate. You mean a demotion? I'll strongly recommend you to Mr. Walker. When I told her that, Emily collapsed to her knees on the spot. Leaving her behind, I made my way to Harvey's office, where he was waiting. Harvey has always preferred modest, gentle women. Someone like Ashley. Wait, it's happening again. I felt a faint pain in my chest, just like yesterday. Maybe I should go to the hospital, I thought as I walked down the hallway. But then, all of a sudden, a sharp pain stabbed through my chest. Oh, they really do look good together, after all. It was because I saw Ashley and Harvey chatting and laughing in the hallway. I finally realized. Whenever my chest hurt, I was always picturing Ashley with Harvey. "Hey, Daniel." "Daniel." Both of them smiled when they noticed me. As expected, Harvey looked perfect next to Ashley. They were a handsome pair, close in age. I forced a smile, ignoring the ache in my chest. "You two seem to have gotten pretty close. I mean, the atmosphere between you is really nice. I just happened to run into Mr. Walker earlier and wanted to thank him for yesterday." "Oh, I see." I had intended to be supportive and encourage the two of them. But Ashley's smile disappeared, and for some reason, she looked down. "Daniel." For some reason, even Harvey let out a sigh as if he was disappointed in me. And then, in the next moment, Harvey suddenly put his arm around Ashley's shoulder. "Mr. Walker. Ashley, I think I might like you. How about dinner tonight?" Harvey whispered in her ear as he leaned closer to Ashley. At that moment, I found myself rushing toward them. Even though I had decided to support them, I couldn't help but think, I don't want this. But before I could intervene, Ashley acted first. She shoved Harvey away with all her strength. "Please stop. I like Daniel." "Ha? Me?" Ashley snapped back to reality at my stunned murmur. And then, her face quickly turned bright red. I mean, that just slipped out. "That's how it is, Daniel." While Ashley was flustered and I was frozen in place, Harvey remained completely calm. As if he already knew how Ashley felt. "I'll leave you two to it. The third wheel will be on his way." He flashed a mischievous grin and walked off. What does he mean by "that's how it is"? When I turned my gaze back to Ashley, she looked like she was about to burst into tears. "Are you okay?" "I like you, Daniel, not Harvey, but you. I've liked you for a long time." "Wait, what? So, that's why she's been acting so distant lately?" Even someone as clueless as me about women's feelings had to finally accept it when faced with a direct confession. "But I'm 10 years older than you. That doesn't matter. And I'm not exactly good looking. Daniel, you're the coolest. To me, you're better than anyone, better than Mr. Walker. Come on, now, that's definitely going too far. Then, you're the best in the world. Daniel, you're amazing." Being praised as the best in the world by the woman I cared about. What man wouldn't be moved? "Please go out with me, Daniel." Without hesitation, I nodded at her words. Ashley smiled brightly, and in that moment, she was undeniably the most beautiful I'd ever seen her. After that, the atmosphere in the sales department changed dramatically. The prejudice and division based on education disappeared completely. A new mindset emerged: let's compete based on our results. Like a real sales team. Everyone started to become aware of each other in a positive way. People even began to gradually help each other with their weaknesses. And the once tense department was turning into a fantastic team that rivaled any other. Emily, on the other hand, was transferred to a distant subsidiary and has been struggling with the unfamiliar environment and tasks. Despite her impressive academic background, her coworkers seemed to respond with, "So what?" She's reluctantly started to show signs of working steadily. I hope she eventually realizes that building trust slowly and consistently is the surest path to earning respect. By the way, since then, Ashley and I have been happily dating. Let's give it our best today. Stay motivated, but take each task one step at a time. Ashley, who has steadily built up her confidence through her accomplishments, now works with a vibrant energy that almost makes her glow. She's now my partner both at work and in life, and each day, she becomes a bigger part of my world. She constantly reassures me that she feels the same way, which fills me with happiness every time. In today's society, where education is often overly emphasized, there are still many who believe it's acceptable to look down on others based on their academic background. But to me, that's a wasted mindset. People often have strengths or hidden talents that go beyond their academic credentials, sometimes even beyond their own awareness. In this transformed workplace, I plan to continue sharing these important lessons with those around me.